Faith. By definition, it's something that is felt with strong conviction without tangible evidence of its existence. Many claim to have it, but how do we attain it? It can't be held. It can't be sold. But it can be passed down. Faith is invaluable to those who feel it. How is it that this belief can unite us regardless of our differences? It's because of conviction, that feeling inside that links so many, from the far corners of the earth to the closest reaches of our neighborhoods. Faith is all around us. Faith springs from a glorious past forward to a promising future. The faith that those who not so quietly defeated rivals and redefined record books would inspire their brethren of today to reach such epic accomplishments. And all along, there are those who cheer. In their minds, they envision. In their hearts, they believe. And because of that, they are simply known as the faithful.
When you picked up the trophy as a head coach, the greatest moment in my life, the greatest moment in my life. And the reason why, no one thought that you could do it. These guys and all the defensive guys who were out there, you know that we would do anything for you.
This is a story of a Bay Area kid who grew into a Bay Area man. From there, he grew into a legend. Some would say one of the quietest, most overlooked legends in 49er history.
I grew up in the city, went to James Lick Junior High School and then Polytechnic High School. You know, I can remember first kind of becoming a fan when I was in junior high school, and one day a fellow showed up with Joe Perry's jersey, and I thought how cool that was. I think from that moment was a 49er fan. I ushered games at Kezar, kind of grew up and idolizing so many of the founding players of the franchise. R.C. Owens and Gordy Soltaw and Hugh McElhaney and White. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
George Seifert's name would join the names of the greats who played for the 49ers, but it would do so in good time. It wasn't his physical prowess that would separate George from those he battled with on the gridiron. It was his acumen off of it.
I played a number of positions and none of them particularly well. I loved the game. I can't say I was a very successful player. I don't know exactly what it was. It was the teaching, the camaraderie, the people that you interact with all the time. I love the sport, and that's what kind of propelled me in this direction.
George Seifert's coaching career spanned the coasts, from the University of Utah to Cornell in upstate New York, and a few stops in between. This up-and-coming coach would find that his second stint at Stanford would be the key moment where he connected with another brilliant mind, Stanford's then head coach, Bill Walsh.
The first year that Bill came to the Niners, George didn't come along. He stayed at Stanford that one year, but the next year, Bill made sure that he got George on board with us. And George came in and was our defensive specialist and the defensive backfield coach.
We brought in a sprinkling of veteran players, Hacksaw Reynolds and Fred Dean, and they would kind of set the tempo along with the young players that we had. Everybody worked to demonstrate to their players that they could make them better. And I think if a player has a sense that you can make them better, whether they like you or dislike you or respect you or not, they'll kind of go through the wall for you if they think you can make them a better player. That happened a lot. Our practices became more and more intense. We went on the road that second year and we beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. And I think we developed a confidence then that really vaulted us into that Super Bowl season.
The competition faced on the playing field paled in comparison, however, to the competition that was being created on the 49ers practice field. Going against Walsh's offense forced Seifert to get the best out of both his players as well as himself.
When we'd have team practice, it would basically be offense versus defense. There wasn't a lot of scripting at that time, and so it was our job on the defense to try to stop our offense? Well, as you know, the offense was very innovative. So every day was a particular challenge, and I think it was a matter of survival of the fittest. You better be good at what you were doing, and just in practices, there was a carryover of offense, really, because as a defensive coach, you better understand what you're competing against. As far as attacking people offensively and defensively, we had a very good system.
The 49ers, in fact, had a great system. That system carried them and the city they called home to new heights. In 1981, the team had found their groove, tearing through the last half of the season and then the playoffs. First, the Giants were vanquished. The Cowboys then fell by way of the catch.
Looking toward the end zone, throwing under pressure, throws his pass, caught by Clark.
Finally, the path to glory was paved in the Motor City, where the 49ers were firing on all cylinders en route to their first ever Super Bowl victory. Although the 49ers offense played center stage for the better part of the 1980s, the defense commanded equal respect from its opponents. Punishing, physical players headlined for San Francisco, and all sights were set on yet another world championship. The wins stacked up from year to year. And in 1988, the team found itself in a familiar position once again.
39 seconds remaining. Montana at quarterback, in motion, comes Rice. Back to throw Montana. Steps up, throws. Touchdown, 49ers! Raiders at the for the touchdown! A 10-yard pass! The 49ers have scored with 34.
This is a tough moment in a way, because was this the final game on the sideline for a great coach, Bill Walsh?
Even though we won the Super Bowl, at one point we were, I believe it was 6-5, and we looked like we were kind of out of the hunt. And then everything kind of fell into place, and that then became Bill's last year. We won the Super Bowl, beating Cincinnati. And I was actually off to interview for a job with Cleveland when I received word that I was going to become the head coach. I realized the responsibility. I felt prepared. I understood the 49ers from the standpoint of growing up as a kid, and so I understood kind of the emotion of the community, but at the same time, the inner workings of the 49ers way of doing things, and that I had grown up in it myself. I didn't really go into it with the idea I wanted to dramatically change anything. As my wife told me, you know, when I got the job, she said, "George, don't screw it up." And so I did everything I could not to screw it up.
You're probably not going to find a bigger George Seifert fan than myself. I talk about George Seifert a lot on the radio. I think George Seifert is one of the coolest guys out there. I think he doesn't get enough credit or respect for the job that he did. Don't forget, he was Bill Walsh's defensive coordinator for all those great Super Bowl years where Walsh coached. And yes, he had a great team that he inherited, but you know what? He kept that ship steady.
George Seifert, you talk about a unheralded hero. I mean, this is George Seifert.
Taking over as the 49ers head coach in 1989, some would say that George Seifert had the toughest job in professional sports. Following not only a season where the franchise captured its third Lombardi trophy, but also having to follow in the footsteps of the great Bill Walsh was a monumental task for any leader. With resolve and vision, Seifert was about to put his stamp on the storied Niners history book. But first, not without some sage advice.
I didn't really go into it with the idea I wanted to dramatically change anything. As my wife told me, you know, when I got the job, she said, "George, don't screw it up." And so I did everything I could not to screw it up.
If you ask another head coach, how easy is it to keep your team together and to win a Super Bowl, particularly after you've just won one, that's probably one of the more difficult things to do.
That team, that first year, was about a motivated and driven team and together team that I'd ever been around. There were no distractions. Everybody was together and trying to win that championship.
Thank you to a man that came in a situation that wasn't exactly easy, and he is your coach.
The organization from ownership throughout, we always felt we were the best. We felt we were the cutting edge of how we would handle players and how we traveled, how we practiced. I think there was kind of that sense that everything we were doing, we were ahead of everybody else.
George did a fantastic job of just keeping the train rolling. And I think a lot of people kind of underestimate just how great of a defensive coach he was. I mean, he was every bit the innovator on the defensive side of the ball as Bill Walsh was on the offensive side of the ball.
Our defense was always fun to watch, especially in the big games. They were the reason we won the championships.
The 49ers defense rivaled a star-studded offense and became the bedrock for which George would mold his team to become champions once again. Opponents, the faithful, and even players would jostle to get their glimpse at the Seifert-crafted defense and the men who executed it.
As a quarterback, we'd all catch up with our coaches, but as soon as we were done, we were right back up on the line 90% of the time if we didn't have to still try to figure something out between the players after we got done with the coaches. But as soon as we did, we loved sitting up there and watching them.
Although the 49ers competed every year, making it to the NFC Championship in 1990, 92, and 93, Seifert and the team couldn't seem to enjoy the success they had in the late 80s. To get there, George faced enormous decisions for the franchise, and molding the team into champions once again would not come without a price.
The really kind of turbulent period, the changing of the guard, where, you know, Joe Montana leaves, Steve Young takes over, a couple of really heartbreaking losses to the Cowboys in the NFC Championship. But all the while, you know, there's George, just ultra cool on the sideline with his little windbreaker on and everything. He didn't really ever change his expression.
Although his poker face may have been one that could keep an opponent guessing, inside Seifert a competitive fire burned, and he would play the cards he was dealt. In 1994, behind a potent offense and a stingy defense, the team went 13-3 in regular season and put all their chips on the table as they pushed towards their 5th Lombardi trophy.
Record setters right here, baby. First team to bring home 5.
Hey, I got kids to feed now. They're tired of eating them bland cereals. They want a brand name.
Quarterback, number 8.
Goes back to throw, steps up, goes for the end zone, Rice is out there. Touchdown 49ers! Touchdown 49ers, what a play! Young with a play fake, drops back to throw, deep middle, Waters a great, over the shoulder catch, bounces away! Bounces away again! Oh, what a bonanza! A spectacular touchdown catch by Ricky Waters!
George was the most unassuming guy in the world, but he was also very strict in his coaching and what he did.
Tough guy, players respected him, players played hard for him. George got his ring too.
He kind of brought a new life to the organization.
We got another game. That's all we focus on is the next game. We're not talking about anything else, just the next game. Whichever opponent it is, so be it. We got a lot of humility, guys. Did a hell of a job out there today. We got to keep it going. I think one of the the exciting things about it as I look back is the fact I grew up a 49er fan, and I still pinch myself to say, my gosh, I grew up in the city and these fellows are all mine. Now I'm the head coach of this team. And you naturally would feel a responsibility anyway because I'd been an assistant coach for 9 years. But now to be the head coach of the team that you grew up idolizing, emotionally being a part of, people don't totally understand how positive an effect that had and what a motivating effect it had on me as a coach.
George Seifert's impact on the 49er franchise and the men who donned the helmet was truly felt while he rose through the ranks, eventually becoming a two-time world champion head coach. It did not end, however, when his stint with the team did. Earlier this season, the 49ers cemented his importance by rewarding him as a 25th member to enter the Edward J. DeBartolo Sr. 49ers Hall of Fame.
It's not easy to just pick up something that was working very well and pick up and repeat and improve upon that success. Talent alone doesn't win you a Super Bowl. What you did last year doesn't win you a Super Bowl. You have to continue to prepare, you have to continue to work, you have to continue to fight, and it starts as soon as the season begins.
In preparing for this evening, thinking back, and you know, it brought tears of joy, the times that we had, and I knew that we worked extremely hard. I mean, who can forget Bill Walsh's last Super Bowl team, Ronnie Lott's tackle of Ickey Woods. Ickey Woods was starting to kind of get going in the ball game, and out of nowhere, ka-whap, Ronnie tackled Ickey Woods. You didn't hear from Ickey Woods the rest of the game. He's got a great commercial now. I like that little, but we didn't hear from Ickey Woods anymore. If we have a goal and we work hard, we have a chance to achieve the goal. If we don't work hard, we have no chance. It's so simple. And I can honestly say in the 17 years that I coached with San Francisco, I don't remember walking off the field not thinking that our players worked hard.
Congratulations, and thank you for the opportunity that you've given us to work under your leadership. It was a great experience, and what we learned throughout that whole adventure not only made us great players, but we're great people as well.
Linda, Evie, Jason, the grandkid. You guys shared your dad with us. Tireless hours, missed holidays, all those occasions. Because he wanted to be successful. And that's what we did. He paved the way for guys like us. The toughest thing that he had to face is Steve Young came after Joe Montana. George came after Bill. He installed discipline, the work ethic of getting us all to buy in, to be successful.
Because I've learned in life that preparation is everything. You want to be successful? Be prepared. George, you prepared us. Thank you.
I love everything that you stood for. You stood for greatness. When you picked up the trophy as a head coach, the greatest moment in my life. The greatest moment in my life. And the reason why, no one thought that you could do it. These guys, and all the defensive guys who were out there, you know that we would do anything for you. And so for this honor, and for us to have this opportunity to be with you and to share this moment, I wouldn't miss it. And none of us would miss it. You meant so much to us.
I was a 49er fan, and I ushered games. I did all this at Kezar. And then my professional career was at Candlestick Park and all the wonderful memories there. And then now to be inducted into the San Francisco 49er Hall of Fame in this beautiful new Levi Stadium. Man, am I a lucky man? Huh? I'm honored to be displayed with my heroes as a young man and my heroes as a professional. Thank you very much. Well, I know it was a long-time term. I remember Bill in particular always said, we got to get rid of that term faithful. We got to, where people didn't talk about being faithful anymore, they talked about our success as a championship team and organization. And it was kind of interesting because, you know, it's a great term, 49er faithful. By God, we're going to get there someday. It's like when I was a kid in 1957, we had great players and we're going to win the championship, and Detroit comes in and plays us at Kezar Stadium in 1957, and we lose the ball game. It seemed like we could never quite get over the hump, so you're always faithful. Well, we wanted to get it to a point where they didn't have to be faithful anymore. They just knew it was going to happen. And I think that was kind of one of the motivating thoughts, one of the many, but that was one of the motivating thoughts in trying to get this team to be a championship team.